You ever get that feeling, like there's something you're supposed to remember but just can't quite grasp it?
Oh, absolutely. Like it's right on the tip of your tongue, but just out of reach. Drives me crazy.
Drives me crazy too. And that feeling, that struggle with memory, is at the heart of what we're diving into today, this new fictional serial podcast called The Penrose Effect.
I was hooked from the first episode.
Me too.
Yeah.
And for our listeners who might not be familiar with it, what's the basic premise? Like, what's this Penrose Effect all about?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine a staircase, but not a normal staircase. No, this one's twisted, like it spirals back on itself. You keep climbing, but you never actually get anywhere. You're just stuck in this endless loop.
So you're trapped.
Exactly. You're trapped. And that's the Penrose Effect. But it's not a physical staircase. It's all in the mind. It's this mental loop where the protagonist is constantly chasing a memory, something crucial they need to remember, but they keep getting pulled back to the starting point, forgetting again and again.
It's so frustrating. And then there's this whole thing with, like, Zeus and Hercules.
Yeah, that's what really intrigued me. It's like this battle going on inside the protagonist's head between these two forces.
Yeah, and they're not like the actual gods.
Right.
It's more symbolic.
Right. It's brilliant how they use these figures to represent internal struggles. So Zeus, in this context, he's like this internal mechanism, this force that's actually enforcing the Penrose Effect.
So he's the one keeping the protagonist trapped.
Yeah, in a way. He's like a protector, but maybe a misguided one. See, the protagonist has experienced some kind of deep trauma, something so painful their mind just can't handle it.
So Zeus steps in and makes them forget to protect them.
Exactly. He keeps the painful memories buried, locked away, but of course that creates a whole other set of problems.
Right. Because you can't just erase parts of yourself and expect everything to be fine.
Absolutely. And that's where Hercules comes in. He's the opposite force, constantly pushing the protagonist towards the truth, no matter how painful it might be.
So it's like Zeus is saying, stay asleep, forget. And Hercules is like, wake up, remember.
Perfect analogy. And it creates this intense inner conflict for the protagonist because part of them just wants to stay safe, oblivious. But then there's this other part, this drive to know, to understand, even if it hurts.
So how does the podcast actually show this struggle playing out?
They use some really clever techniques. Like, there's this thing called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. You ever notice how, you learn a new word and then suddenly you see it everywhere?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
It's like your brain is suddenly tuned into it. Well, in the Penrose Effect, that phenomenon is used to show Hercules' influence. The protagonist starts seeing these recurring symbols, these little fragments that keep popping up.
Like clues.
Exactly. Like breadcrumbs leading them towards the truth that Zeus is trying to keep hidden.
Ooh, that's smart. So what about the actual memories? Do we get any hints about what the protagonist is trying to remember?
We get glimpses, these tantalizing little bits and pieces. There's something about a sister the protagonist can't fully remember, and a voice that keeps hinting at some kind of witnessed trauma. It's all very mysterious and keeps you guessing.
Sounds like the writers know how to keep you hooked.
Oh, absolutely. And they use such vivid language, really pulls you into the protagonist's internal world. Like, there's this one line about the fire of Prometheus.
Oh, that's cool.
It refers to that burning desire for truth, that refusal to stay chained in the darkness of forgetting. It's like, even though it hurts, the protagonist can't help but be drawn towards the light, even if it burns.
And that really gets to the heart of what makes this podcast so compelling. It's not just a mystery. It's about this fundamental human struggle. Like, do we run from the truth, even if it's painful?
Exactly. The Penrose Effect isn't just telling a story, it's asking us what we would do in that situation. Would we choose the comfort of ignorance or fight for the truth no matter the cost?
Makes you think, huh?
Definitely. And it's a question worth exploring, which is what makes this podcast, this deep dive into the Penrose Effect, so captivating. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already.
Couldn't agree more. It's a wild ride, and I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Me too.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the Penrose Effect.
Definitely leave you with a lot to think about.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you in the next episode.
See ya!